So let's talk about one of the most important ideas in all of programming, the function. And don't worry, this isn't going to be some dry, boring lecture. We're going to use a really simple analogy, a recipe actually, to see what functions are all about. And more importantly, why they are such a powerful tool for anyone who codes.
It all starts with a feeling I think we've all had, that sense of repetition. Just doing the exact same set of steps, again and again. It could be with chores, a project at work, or especially when you're writing code. It's that little voice in the back of your head that says, ugh, there has to be a better way to do this.
Well, turns out there is. And to get our heads around it, we're going to use a simple everyday task as our guide. We're going to make a sandwich.
Okay, so the steps are pretty simple, right? You get your bread, add the fillings, stick them together. Easy. But what if you had to make 10 sandwiches? You'd literally be repeating these same 4 steps 10 times over. And this right here is a huge part of programming. A lot of the time, a really complex task is just a small set of simple steps repeated again and again.
It's not just about it being tedious, though. Doing things manually like this creates a major risk. Every single time you repeat those steps, you're just opening the door for a mistake. You might forget a step, or maybe you grab the wrong ingredient for sandwich number 7. In coding, we call these little errors bugs. And trust me, they can be incredibly frustrating to track down and fix.
So, what's the fix for all this mind-numbing repetition? Well, programmers came up with a really elegant solution a long time ago. A recipe. In the world of programming, we call this recipe a function. It's really that simple. You bundle up a set of instructions that achieves one specific thing. You give that bundle a name, and now you have this reusable recipe you can call on anytime you need it, without having to type out every single step. Okay, so let's see what this actually looks like in practice. On the left, if you want to make 2 sandwiches, you have to write out every single step twice. It's messy, it's long, it's repetitive. But look at the right. We've bundled all those steps into one recipe called Make Sandwich. Now, if we want 3 sandwiches, we just call that recipe 3 times. The code is just so much cleaner, way easier to read, and you're way less likely to make a silly mistake. All right, so we've cracked the repetition problem. That's huge. But what makes a recipe really great? It's not just that you can use it over and over, it's that you can change it up. You can customize the ingredients. I mean, that's the next logical question, right? A recipe that only makes one exact type of sandwich is, well, it's not that useful. What if you're not in the mood for the same old thing every time? What if you want to switch up the ingredients? So let's imagine our kitchen pantry is stocked with all sorts of options. Different breads, different spreads. We need some way to tell our recipe, our make sandwich function, hey, for this one, use these specific ingredients. And in programming, that's exactly what parameters are. You can think of them, literally, as the ingredients you pass into a function to tell it precisely how to run this time around. And this is what that actually looks like in the code. See? When we call our function, we just pop the ingredients we want, in this case, rye and grape jelly, right inside those parentheses. Our recipe is now totally customizable. It still follows the same core steps, but it uses the specific ingredients we give it. Okay, so we've got our instructions, we've given it the ingredients. What's next? Well, after all the work is done, you need to get the finished product back. In programming, that finished sandwich has a name. It's called the return value. After a function takes your ingredients and follows all its steps, it gives you something back, the result of its work. It's literally the function handing you the finished dish, ready to go. So how do we actually catch that result and use it? Well, look at this. We're calling our make sandwich function with wheat and peanut butter. The function does its thing and hands back the finished sandwich, and we're using that equal sign to store it in a variable we're calling my lunch. It's kind of like packing that sandwich into a lunchbox so you can do something with it later. So let's just stop and think about that for a second. We ran the function, we stored the result in that variable. What is my lunch now? What does it actually hold? Well, it holds the finished sandwich. That my lunch variable is our wheat and peanut butter sandwich. It now contains the complete result of our function's work. And now we can take this lunchbox and use it anywhere else we need to in our program. Okay, so we've really dug into how to make one single recipe, but the real magic, the true power of functions, comes when you stop thinking about just one recipe and you start thinking about building your very own personal cookbook. And really, the whole philosophy behind this comes down to one simple idea. Don't reinvent the wheel. It's this concept called software reusability. Why would you want to solve the exact same problem from scratch every single time when you could just solve it perfectly once, package that solution up in a nice little function, and then just reuse it whenever you need it? And I really want you to think of it this way. Every time you write a new function, you're not just solving one tiny problem in front of you, you're actually doing something much bigger. You're adding a new, tested, reliable recipe to your own personal cookbook. And over time, you start to build this amazing library of your own tools, which just makes it easier and faster to build bigger and more interesting things down the road. And really, that's the most important thing to remember. You don't need to build some massive cookbook overnight, not at all. It all just starts with noticing one small, repetitive thing you're doing. Turn that one little task into one simple recipe. Get comfortable with it, use it, and you'll slowly start to see other places where you can do the same thing. Once you do that, the rest, it'll just naturally follow.